Hello and welcome to the last match that I had versus Jamie Boyt in our friendly best of 3 set, and let's get right to it. As you can see, I decided to lead with Rayquaza and Togekiss again because I felt it was a very safe lead versus everything he could throw at me, and it gave me enough things in the back. It gave me Kyogre and also Ferrothorn to switch back on if my lead combination was poor against theirs. And what they decided to lead with was a Togekiss, which is very interesting and actually makes the lead matchups somewhat of a mirror. And from here, I know that Togekiss is capable of being bulkier than Togekiss with the Eviolite. It doesn't have the citrus recovery, but it should be able to take a Dragon's Ascent pretty easily, and Air Slash, which a combination of those two should be able to KO my own Togekiss, but it would not be able to KO theirs. So actually in the mirror, that helped them out a fair bit, I would say. Let me just turn that music down slightly. So I decided to Mega Evolve and protect the first turn, seeing as I wanted to scout out exactly what they wanted to do, what Jamie wanted to do. And I figured that getting some chip damage on the Togekiss would be essential at this point, because I need to KO it to stand a chance against taking down the Rayquaza. He has Follow Me is a very safe option against anything that I can throw at it, so they go for the Follow Me, which is perfectly reasonable, and they go for the Dragon's Ascent into my Protect, thank goodness, as I decide to Air Slash the Togekiss. So something very interesting to note is that they did decide to target my Rayquaza down, and this means that I am encouraged to use Follow Me this turn and attempt to gradually whittle down their Togekiss so I can actually start attacking the Rayquaza. I didn't feel it was a good idea to switch. I more wanted to sacrifice a Pokemon to switch into something in the back. So I figured for this turn, Follow Me and Dragon's Ascenting was the safest play. It covered the most options, and let's see if it works out. He decides to go for the Follow Me himself, and he goes for the Dragon's Ascent into my Togekiss, and yes, I am able to take this time. I have no chip damage like the previous game, and he'll be able to see that that activates my Citrus Berry, which I don't believe he saw in the other two games, so I was fortunate that I was able to hide it for that long. Although he probably did suspect I had a Citrus anyway, or some kind of support item. So I go for the Dragon's Ascent, and let's see how much damage it manages to do. Togekiss takes that very well. It manages to survive not even going down to red health. So now it's... Actually, I'm not entirely sure if Air Slash will KO at that range. So I'm at a bit of a dilemma where it's actually risky to use Air Slash. I might not be able to KO. I'm not sure if it will be able to KO, if it will be a roll or not. So I think that the safest play here is to potentially let him KO my Rayquaza, and because he will target it, he has no reason not to, and Tailwind to get something in the back to switch in, my Kyogre in the back to switch in, as it threatens all of his team and all of his potential switch-ins. And obviously if he targets the Togekiss down, I can't do that. But I figured that he will target the Rayquaza, and it will KO it. So KOing it is very unfortunate. It's an unfortunate side effect of this. But I figured the momentum I gain is so huge, and I can actually pretty much KO his entire team with, or at least 3-hit KO the Kyogre on his team with a combination of 2 Water Spouts and an Air Slash. So sacrificing this, I managed to get up my Tailwind, which he possibly accounted for. We'll see if he does account for it for the next couple of turns. But as I switch into Kyogre, you'll be able to see that this turn in a minute is actually influences the entire rest of the game, I would say. I make a big mistake, and he manages to capitalize on this. So when this Primal Reversion is done, and Primal you'll see is activated, you'll see that he switches back his Rayquaza. I didn't actually account for this. almost certainly should have, and that was definitely a big mistake that I made. And let's see what he switches into. He switches into Kyogre. My main fear, from what I saw at that point, was him using extreme speed on my Kyogre to reduce the power of its water spout. So what I decided to do with my Togekiss was use Follow Me to absorb that hit and KO both of the Pokemon that were in. But he manages to switch back, and he will be able to take two water spouts. And unfortunately, as I didn't Air Slash because I didn't predict him to switch back, this ended up going very unfavourably for me. So now he decides to switch into Scizor. That makes sense, since if I manage to use Redirection and I have Tailwind up, then a Rayquaza would not be able to take an Ice Beam from my Kyogre very well. So he decides to switch into Scizor because that encourages me to Water Spout. But I decide to go for the Thunder, as I don't think he's going to set up with Scizor. He could have set up with Scizor, I suppose, but I decided to go for the Thunder on the Kyogre, as I decided that taking Kyogre out at this stage would be of huge benefit, and Thunder would be able to KO from this range, as I saw from the first game. So as it doesn't KO, I thought, maybe he could switch back to Rayquaza or something here. Or maybe I definitely should not repeat the same play. So I decide to go for the Water Spout, as I'm pretty sure it can KO Scizor even outside of Rain on full health. And he doesn't decide to switch back, so Water Spout, I go for that. And in case he did decide to switch back to Rayquaza on the Kyogre slot, I targeted it with Gyro Ball over Power Whip, as he goes for the Thunder himself, and that will make my Water Spouts considerably weaker for the rest of the game. But obviously I go for the Gyro Ball because I suspected that him switching back was an option. Unfortunately, he managed to just live the Gyro Ball, since I set up Tailwind that actually reduces the amount of damage my Gyro Ball does. So really, he made the best play possible at that point in the game, and definitely put himself back into things. I decide to protect here and sacrifice the Kyogre, which was again a definite oversight, as if he manages to KO Kyogre here, I have absolutely no way of winning. You see, I found out in the first or second game that my Gyro Ball does about half damage to the Rayquaza. For some reason, I forgot this information here and decided that, if I can switch in Togekiss and use Follow Me, that I will be able to KO the Rayquaza. And this isn't going to work out. I guess also at the time I might have suspected, seeing as he did that play, that using Dragon's Ascent on the Kyogre was a viable play, since his Thunder isn't 100% accurate. But he decides to go for the Thunder and it manages to KO. So perhaps I took too much of a risk doing that play. And here I decide to make another call and thinks that he would KO my Togekiss, or target the Togekiss with the Rayquaza. Since, if obviously my previous calculations, I thought that I could KO with Gyro Ball again, forgetting what happened in the earlier game. So that was a real oversight on my part, and he punishes me fully for that with an Overheat, and that pretty much wraps up our set. So obviously I was probably flustered while I was battling, and overlooked some very important information that I did gather through the previous sets. So something that you can take from this is to maybe jot down notes of information like this, or perhaps just try to actually remember what you're doing when you're battling. And unfortunately that's game for me, but Jamie played tremendously well throughout all of these sets, and he's beaten me twice now since I've played against him, and he's a very, very good player who obviously went to Worlds, and I'm very happy to have had another match so early in the season against him, and I wish him all the best of luck for this next season, and I really, really enjoyed these matches. I'm so glad I got the chance to upload them, and thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again next time.